This is ABC 7 News at 7, your Suncoast News. We're here for you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Alan Cohn, and welcome to ABC 7 at 7. Topping our news tonight, we continue to learn more tonight about yesterday's terrorist attack at a Turkish airport and how it's impacting air travel here at home. At least 41 people have now died. Another 239 are injured. Half still remain in the hospital. Security cameras captured the moment when the two of the three suicide bombers detonated their devices. President Obama spoke about the attack today, saying the U.S. is heartbroken.
We stand with the people of Turkey, and we intend to do what's necessary to make sure that these kinds of terrible events are not happening.
No group has taken credit for the attack, but the Turkish government is blaming ISIS. Here on the Suncoast, Sarasota Bradenton International Airport is taking additional security precautions. The airport says it spent nearly $250,000 on upgrades since the San Bernardino shootings. That includes staff training, more than 100 security cameras, a blast-proof windows, and firearms.
When these people come, you have to be ready. They're killing people in seconds. You have to be able to respond fast, have people ready, and we're in the type of a business where we're able to do that here at the airport.
A tactical patrol officer equipped with an assault weapon and a body armor will now patrol the airport. The city of Sarasota is once again changing its policy when it comes to panhandling. Commissioners are updating the ordinance to restrict all types of solicitation on specific roads. That includes homeless asking for money along with people asking for signatures on a petition. People can still solicit in certain areas as long as their behavior is non-aggressive. Now to Venice, where voters will decide whether or not to build a new police station. Venice's city council is putting the $16 million proposal on the November ballot. The new station would be resistant to hurricanes. It would also serve as an emergency operations center. City leaders say they are looking for ways to cut costs as well.
That allows a maximum of $16 million, but that doesn't mean that the final product has to be that high. If we find ways to save money, to cut costs, it just gives us the maximum amount that we could borrow.
What we're looking for is a department that's going to take us into the next 30 to 50 years.
Venice's current police department was built in 1990. Earlier this week, the U.S. Supreme Court struck down Texas's extreme restrictions on abortion rights. Next up, a federal court may be ruling on new restrictions Florida has placed on clinics like Planned Parenthood. Earlier this year, Florida's Republican-controlled legislature passed a law banning abortion providers from receiving taxpayer money. It also requires health officials to inspect half of all abortion records each year. Planned Parenthood argues the law is intrusive and does nothing to protect the safety of women.
Politicians are interfering in these personal private medical decisions. So there's no medical necessity for these restrictions, and it only obstructs more barriers for women to access care.
Planned Parenthood is also challenging a part of the law which redefines the first trimester of pregnancy. Sarasota's powerboat races are just days away, and while it is good for our economy, it can be dangerous for marine life. Organizers are launching the Share the Beach campaign to protect sea turtles and manatees from the crowds expected to pack the beaches for the event. Spectators are also encouraged to avoid the beach overnight when turtles are most active. You'll also be asked to keep an eye out for nests and manatees near the race course.
Wildlife conservation has always been at the top of our list, but what we really wanted to do is draw more attention to it because a lot of people will forget about it.
Marine experts will monitor from the air and from the water and are prepared to halt a race if an animal is put in danger. And that seems reasonable, Bob.
It sure does. And we've been offshore. We're pretty close to where they're going to be doing those races. Just a week and a half ago, there was a sea turtle there. It was a manatee. So again, we got to be very cautious of the sea life that is going to be around and share it. Like we said, share everything there as far as the Gulf of Mexico is concerned. And I tell you what, we're sharing the beautiful weather. It has been nice so far for all the events. Thus far up to this point. It looks like it'll stay that way too. Let's get a look at what's been going on today out on the Gulf Gulf of Mexico from Casey Key, and beautiful calm conditions out there, and really seas running less than 2 feet. There hasn't been a whole lot of action going on in terms of storms near the coast. We had a few morning showers around, but most of that has since moved on. The weather headlines look like this. Again, a few coastal showers in the morning, mainly inland storms during the late afternoon and evening. And the good news is the tropics are quiet at this point. You can see from the radar picture and the imagery, there's some big storms in the central Florida. That's where the rain chances are going to stay the highest. There's an outflow boundary right here. You can see it coming from this cell in particular. This is marching in this direction, so there could be some showers generated by that later on this evening. As you can see, the big storms just south of Wauchula and near Duet in northeast Manatee County, and just to the southeast of Arcadia, some pretty big storms there. Not much near the coast. The high today was a little bit above average. Felt warmer. This morning's low was 78. That's well above the average. And 88 degrees our current temp with a dew point at 71. Winds are calm out there. And looks as though a little bit more moisture coming back into play. There is a weak stationary front, or if you will, a trough of low pressure over the southeast United States. And that always provides us with more onshore flow. And we're going to see that with inland storms being the main focus over the upcoming days. The RPM forecast model showing some of those showers making their way back to the coast late tonight. As far as boaters are concerned, southwest winds turn basically westerly in the afternoon and seas running less than 2 feet. The extended forecast fairly quiet considering what time of year we're in. 30% chances tomorrow and again on Friday, with a better chance for showers and storms inland on both those days. A little bit better chance to maybe see some coastal action come over the weekend.
And a good night for fireworks on Monday?
So far, so good. Yeah, it looks like, again, that pattern will stick around, so most of it should be inland. Tough for Arcadia and Sebring, but along the coast it should be okay.
All right, thanks a lot, Bob. And still to come, hurricane season is here, but are you protected against a major storm? We'll discuss the types of insurance coverage you may need when we come back.
Have you ever wondered what it's like to save a life? Find out by donating platelets at SUNCOAST Blood Bank.
I'm Haley Wilgus, ABC7. Platelets aid in the clotting process and are vital in the treatment of cancer and surgical patients, trauma victims, and critically ill newborns. It's tough to keep enough on the shelves because they only last 5 days. To donate, call this number or visit scbb.org and you can help save a life.
ABC7 congratulates SUNCOAST Blood Bank on 65 years of serving our community. ABC7, your SUNCOAST News. We're here for you, weeknights at 5. This Sarasota Powerboat Grand Prix Minute is brought to you by Florida Leather Gallery.
Money raised during the Sarasota Powerboat Grand Prix Festival allows Suncoast Charities for Children to provide annual grants to the Suncoast Foundation. Since the festival began, more than $20 million in facilities have been built by the Suncoast Foundation across the area, benefiting Community Haven, Children First, Sarasota County Special Olympics, and the Florida Center for Early Childhood.
Florida Leather Gallery is celebrating the 4th of July with spectacular savings. Take 33% off hundreds of styles. Experience freedom of choice with a wide and wonderful assortment of leathers. Freedom from worry with our impressive collection of protected leathers. And freedom from guilt as we proudly offer the lowest price guaranteed. Plus, free delivery. It's all happening right now. Come celebrate with our Lexperts at our 6 Florida Leather Galleries.
Many homeowners here on the Suncoast may not even know whether their homes are located in a flood zone. Fewer may be aware the federal government has just altered its maps, meaning if you weren't before, you might be now. This can have an impact on what kind of insurance you may need to have and how much it will cost to insure your home. ABC7's Rick Adams joins us now with a closer look at the insurance homeowners should have. Rick?
Yeah, Alan, in most cases, homeowners insurance is required, and in some cases, flood insurance is required. It usually comes down to where the home is located.
Nice to have the protection.
That's how Longboat Key homeowner Paul Jaffe feels about the $5,000 a year he spends on insurance, although he wishes it was a lot cheaper. Because Jaffe lives on a canal near Sarasota Bay, he's required to have flood insurance in addition to the homeowner's insurance.
It is important. Thank God I've never had to use the insurance here, and I've lived here now 8 years, and I hope I don't ever have to use it.
Homeowners in Florida who have a mortgage are required to have homeowners insurance, which also covers wind damage. Also, for folks who live in a flood zone, they must have flood insurance. The federal government has just changed its flood zone maps, meaning some homeowners or business owners may not even be aware yet they are now located in flood zones and need additional insurance.
From my experience, financially astute people will find that covering that risk by insurance is the most effective way, because you can't save up enough money to pay for the potential loss.
Barry Chevalier is a Sarasota resident whose home is paid off. Since he has no mortgage on the house, he tells us he's not required to carry any insurance, but he still has liability insurance.
I've lived here since '88. I've never had any real issues with hurricanes. However, there's been a few times that I wished I had a little more plywood.
Despite not having a homeowner's policy or flood insurance, Chevalier still understands why folks should carry these types of insurance, especially living near the coast and especially during hurricane season.
Wind-wise, especially if you have trees, other objects that could land on your home, it's important.
For the average homeowner on the Suncoast, insurance agents say pricing has become very reasonable. Homeowners can now expect to pay about $1,000 a year for a homeowner's policy and about $500 a year for flood insurance.
Homes that have a modern roof structure are going to find particularly attractive pricing. So it's more of a fear of what the cost would be than the actual cost itself.
And currently, only about 29% of people who own a home right here in Florida have flood insurance. Alan?
Rick, thank you. And in a moment, our roundtable.
On your TV, on your computer, on your camera, on your smartphone, on your Apple Watch. And now you can get ABC7, your Suncoast News on Fire TV. Just go to mysuncoast.com and click on the mobile tab for a list of fast and free downloads that deliver ABC7, your Suncoast News on the go.
You know what scares me? No electricity. Yeah, when this magical box suddenly stops working, I call the pros at Mr. Sparky and they send a superhero to save the day. How's it going, Pablo?
It's going great, Mike.
Pablo possesses amazing skill. He can perform incredible feats at blinding speed.
Superhero. Couldn't have done it without you.
Modest, too.
Call 888-8-SPARKY.
Just to be clear, I don't live here.
This Sarasota Powerboat Grand Prix Minute is brought to you by Florida Leather Gallery.
Your support during the Grand Prix Festival makes a big difference. Loveland Center in Venice is one of 5 area nonprofit agencies receiving support from Suncoast Charities for Children and the Suncoast Foundation. Thanks to a recent grant from Suncoast Charities for Children, a multi-sensory room was renovated for clients with autism and other severe disabilities, and allowing program money to go directly to clients.
Florida Leather Gallery is celebrating the 4th of July with spectacular savings. Take 33% off hundreds of styles. Experience freedom of choice with a wide and wonderful assortment of leathers. Freedom from worry with our impressive collection of protected leathers. And freedom from guilt as we proudly offer the lowest price guaranteed. Plus, free delivery. It's all happening right now. Come celebrate with our Lexperts at our 6 Florida Leather Galleries.
Joining us for more on tonight's topic is Larry Bowman, Executive Vice President at Pormort and Martin Insurance Agency, Don Hermey, Emergency Management Chief for Manatee County, and Ed McCrane, Emergency Management Chief for Sarasota County. Thank you all for being here. What an all-star cast to talk about this really interesting issue. But Larry, I want to start with you, and I want you to respond to Mr. Chevalier from Sarasota, who figures, well, I paid off my home. I really don't need flood insurance or all the other things. What would you say to him?
Well, you know, I always tell people what we don't want to see is any surprises. So, you know, if he's fully comfortable with taking that risk, then that's okay. I would say that it's a pretty big risk. I think there's a lot of other things that could cause damage to the home than just flying debris. If that roof came off or one of the windows, you know, was destroyed, you'd have some major damage.
Well, is it the fact that a lot of people are comfortable taking that risk? Only 29% of people have flood insurance, or is it that they don't know that they live in a flood zone and need it?
I think it's probably a little bit of both, but I would say that, I mean, when we talk to people that don't have insurance, that don't pay for either the windstorm or the flood, a lot of times we hear things like, well, you know, when was the last time we had a major storm hit Sarasota? And
famous last words.
Right, and so it's kind of scary, but at the same time, you know, all we try to do is provide them with all the facts and then let them make that decision. I personally would encourage any one of my family members and friends to not take that risk.
Now, the federal government has just changed the flood maps, meaning, as we said earlier, you could not have been in a flood area, and now that you are, how is this communicated to homeowners?
Well, there's a variety of ways. Both Manatee and Sarasota County have put on workshops. We have a team of people, including our floodplain managers, who explaining to people what this map change is, when it takes effect, giving people an opportunity to ask questions. On our website is probably the best place to go. I know for Sarasota County at www.scgov.net, there's a flood map modernization project information. There's frequently asked questions. There's a tool where you can put in your address to determine whether or not your home is in a flood zone, and that's what we encourage people to do.
And Don, you know, as we said, that so many people don't have flood insurance and have an attitude, well, I have not been hit, but has the risk evolved over time, at least the time that you have been in your position?
No, the risk has not changed. It's still out there. We don't know when the storms are coming. One just needs to look at what happened over in Texas, what's currently going on in West Virginia right now. Look at most recently with Tropical Storm Colin. We were fortunate it went much further to the north than we originally anticipated. But to our north, there was a lot of flooding.
Then why do the maps change?
The maps change because we have better technologies today when it comes to our topography and taking a look at the exact levels, if you will, from sea level.
You gave me an example earlier about how it was measured before and how it's measured now.
Yes, in the old days it was surveyors with transits and figuring out elevations. Today, back in around 2009 or 10, state of Florida actually went through what was called the LIDAR study. It was a light-emitting radar that was done via an airplane at a specific altitude to come up with the elevations. And from the old days with surveyors, it was plus or minus 8 to 10 feet roughly. With the flyover, it's now plus or minus about 2 inches.
Ed, has anything changed in terms of our community's ability to mitigate floods when they do happen?
Well, both counties have done a lot of work with mitigation and trying to create better water flow structures, utilizing like the Celery Fields project, the Philippi Creek area. You know, so there's a lot of projects that our workers do to shift that water in different directions to kind of prevent it from going into neighborhoods. But when you get a substantial amount of rain over a short period of time, and especially at high tide, sometimes it has nowhere to go, and it just stacks up until it can flow out.
And Bob Harrigan, we talk about El Nino and the shifting weather patterns, which means that some seasons are rainier than other seasons. It's totally unpredictable. And let me ask you this, Larry, because when I purchased my home several years ago, we were informed initially that our house was in a flood area, but that designation was, and we had to buy flood insurance, but several months later, for whatever reason, that designation was removed and we didn't have to have it now. And we live substantially inward. I mean, does that happen often?
I don't think it happens too often, but you got to remember when they're drawing these maps, they're not necessarily surveying every individual lot. And so there could obviously be differences between exactly what zone you're in or what zone you've been put in and the zone you're actually in. To go back to one of your questions a second ago, how do homeowners know if they're in a zone that they weren't in before? One of the most common ways we're seeing right now is banks are telling them. So their mortgage companies, if they're put into that new zone, these banks are going through and checking all their mortgages and making sure that if any of their any of these loans that were given out that at the time they were not in a zone that required flood insurance. If they are now, they're letting them know.
And just to what degree can that impact your premium?
To go from one zone to another, oh boy. I mean, there's three main factors, and I won't go too much into pre-firm or pre-map factors, but the three main factors are going to be the zone you're in, the elevation of the lowest livable floor, and then obviously the construction of the home. And with those three factors at play, we've seen flood insurance. We've seen some policies, particularly when Biggert Waters the Biggert Waters Flood Act, when it first went into effect, we saw policies just jumping astronomically from very small premiums of maybe a couple thousand to over 10,000.
Which would really severely impact, what homeowners could afford. I want to ask you all about one more thing, because earlier when I was talking to Bob Harrigan about this, he said it's not just the flood maps, it's the storm surge maps. The technology is also improved in terms of charting that, and that is also has a significant impact on our community's ability to deal with the severe storms when there is a storm surge. Is that not correct?
That's very correct. We actually focus in on mean sea level, and then we figure out the storm surge models. They have what they call MOMS and meows. MOMS are maximum envelope of winds, and maximum of maximums, which we have the Weather Service simulating the worst case storms and what it actually means for the water intruding onto the land.
And has that changed again over time in terms of what areas of our community and the beach areas could be most adversely affected?
Well, definitely. In 2010, because of the LiDAR technology and the elevation...
And just explain for a moment what that is.
That light imaging detecting radar, or a laser that comes down from an aircraft and gives you the elevation. Because of that technology, they were able to run a new computer model, and because of what happened in Hurricane Katrina, they ran a larger hurricane model. So that pushed the water, the storm surge water, further inland during these models. So people need to look and find out what zone they're in. Both counties have on our website a Know Your Zone tool where they can go and put in their address, and it tells them what evacuation zone they're in, which also equates to that storm surge zone. So you may not be in a flood zone, but you may find yourself that your home is in a Category A, B, or C zone.
And finally, do you find people affording themselves that opportunity to check that out?
Whenever we do presentations, we advise people to do that. I don't know how many people take advantage of that. Hopefully some of your listeners tonight will take advantage of that and find out what zone they're in. In Sarasota County, they can also find that on their tax bill or their property appraiser's notice.
All right, gentlemen, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you all for coming in tonight, and we'll be back in just a moment.
At ABC7, our entire weathercast is dedicated to the Suncoast, and now we bring it to you like never before with the all-new official Suncoast forecast.
Beach and boating forecast. The winds will be out of the northwest at 10 knots.
Now, with the most advanced graphics and technology, we bring you weather where you live, pinpointing right down to your neighborhood.
Zooming into the Sarasota Bayfront,
the all-new official Suncoast forecast, only on ABC7, your Suncoast News. We're here for you.
Thanks to my volunteer, I am a better reader.
Thanks to my volunteer, math seems simple now.
Thanks to my volunteer, I discovered new career goals.
I'm a volunteer for Sarasota County Schools, so I know I can make a difference. And you can too. Give an hour, change a life.
Tomorrow at 4 on Suncoast View. The countdown is on to the 4th of July holiday weekend, and fireworks are often the focus of our celebrations. I'm Rebecca Vargas on Suncoast View. The Sarasota Fire Department joins us to discuss the most common fireworks mistakes and injuries to help keep us safe. We'll tour the Ringling Museum's new Phantom Bodies exhibit, plus a game of What's My Line with a mystery guest. And the Rosemary is in the kitchen. Tomorrow at 4 on Suncoast View.
This Sarasota Powerboat Grand Prix Minute is brought to you by Sarasota Ford.
Each year during the Sarasota Powerboat Grand Prix Festival, local fishing enthusiasts, boat captains, and government agencies volunteer their time to take more than 80 special needs clients out for a day of fishing on Sarasota Bay. It's called the Friendliest Catch. After a day on the water, every participant is a winner and recognized during a special lunch and awards presentation held at the Sarasota Sailing Squadron.
They're coming from Tampa, Fort Myers, even Orlando. They're coming from everywhere to Sarasota Ford, because Sarasota Ford guarantees you our lowest price on every new Ford every day. Save on America's best-selling truck, 39 years running, the Ford F-150. Fusions, Escapes, over 800 vehicles on site or online, all on sale. Buy with 0% for 60 months. And now, get up to 2,000 trade assistance. That's why they're coming from everywhere to Sarasota Ford, where 41 meets 301. SarasotaFord.com.
There is still a long time to November and the general election, but here on the Suncoast, both the Clinton and Trump campaigns are already trying to rally support for Hillary Clinton's case for the presumptive Democratic nominee. The Democratic Party says it is an unusual election year, and they think traditionally Republican areas could go for Clinton, and here is what you have to say. Jessica Medic writes, "If one of these people calls my house, I will tell them shame on them." Tracy Schroeder writes, on Good Morning America, 538's Nate Silver predicts Hillary Clinton has a 79% chance of winning the general election. We are at halftime of the election right now. She is taking a 7-point, maybe 10-point lead into halftime. Yes, yes, yes. And Chris Magario DeLuna writes, no thank you, not a Clinton supporter. Well, if you like to join the conversation about tonight's topic, just visit our Facebook page at facebook.com/news@7. And that is all the time we have for this evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Alan Cohn. Have a great night.